Dr. Ahmed, I would like to hand over to you.
Um, uh, First, I would like to thank you all, and mainly, yeah, Christian, for the good coordination and the organization of the Gloco lectures. So I'm so happy to join you today, and I think it will be a good chance to bridge the mutual understanding between Egypt and Gloco team. I mean Europe mainly. So I think it will be just like a bridge of mutual respect, understanding in the context of the global citizenship. So thank you so much for giving me and my colleague Ines this chance to speak about the environmental citizenship. And before I start, I would like to just to share with you PowerPoint presentation so to remind me of what I will say. So just seconds, and I will share my presentation. Yeah. Uh, Not quite sure. Well, do you see the PowerPoint presentation? Yeah,
Perfect.
excellent. Excellent. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Um, I'm not quite sure. I you see it here because it's disappeared from me. Yeah. Uh-huh. Stop share. Sorry. I will share it again. Yes. Okay. Let me just introduce myself to you because actually this is the first time to participate with Gloco. I'm Atif Ahmed, and I live in Cairo, Egypt, mainly in very near from the downtown in the Mahadi district. And I started my career as a teacher. So I changed my hat to work with development entities and organizations like the European Union and the World Bank and the United States Agency for International Development, and also American Institutes for Research, and also with mainly connected with the Ministry of Education and Technical Education in Egypt. I worked as a consultant for them for many years, and also for as an advisor to some areas related to reforming education in Egypt. Yeah. Well, I actually I studied in two universities in Egypt, yeah, in Cairo, mainly in Cairo. I studied my bachelor degree from Faculty of Education, Helwan University, and also from Cairo University, where I got my PhD there. And I had the chance to study also nearly 2 years in Faculty of Economics and Political Science, where I studied management of non-governmental organization and civil society and human rights there. So it was a long journey in education in Cairo University. It spanned about more than 10 years in Cairo University. Anyway, currently I work as a project manager for some projects funded by GIZ in Egypt. And also, that is, we call it a green breed in one of the governorate called the Kafr Sheikh, which is very near from the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, this is, you know, who I am. But if I just moved to the organization, who are Planter Tree Foundation for Social Development? Well, I'm not quite sure if you see the logo of our foundation. Yeah, it seems like a tree, but actually it's not. It's not a tree. It's like the Earth, our planet. Yeah, but the continent here. I mean Africa, Europe, South America, Asia. It seems that they are interconnected, by leaves of the trees at the time. Yeah. In Plant a Tree Foundation for Social Development, it is a registered organization founded in 1917, more than 9 years. But actually, before 2017, we were working as a team at that time in order to establish a talk at time in order to found, the presentation. So we started 2015 until we founded it in 17, yeah. But we, the members who founded, the foundation said, okay, let's make, the tree is the main philosophy and the main goal of our foundation. Yeah. So we thought that, the tree is something global. Yeah. And it can interconnect or connect or link us, Egypt with many parts of our globe. And we thought that it is a part of ecosystem on our earth here. We imagine, our earth without trees. I think, it will be a very dull land without trees, yeah, and awful. And you will not be able to live on a land without trees, yeah. So we started that, and we said, okay, let us establish, Plant a Tree Foundation, and we took it like an order. It's not, yeah, it's a polite order, Plant a Tree Foundation, but we think that all humanity must, plant a tree. We have a lot of, you know, activities, and one of these activities is afforestation and the green expansion. Yeah, so we have a lot of campaigns. I mean, campaigns which targeting planting and increasing the green space in Cairo. It's not in Cairo actually. Yeah, it's in all parties in Egypt. Yeah. And also we have an activity called Green Schools, which we work mainly with schools. As you see here, this is a secondary education school here in Cairo. And also we have something related to the green universities in Egypt. We have more than 107 university in Egypt here. So private and public universities here. And we think that, the Green Campus, that is one of the most important thing. And we try to connect with Cairo University, Ain Shams University, Hilwan University in Cairo, and also some private university in Cairo to work in what we call it sustainability, a parks, which is very important for the students in higher education sector here. Yeah, especially related to the energy efficiency and also um, water rationalization, and also, how we can get rid of the students and teacher and employees waste in our university here. And then we work mainly also with the kids and the children in Egypt. So we have an initiative called the Green Kit, which is trying to give, the kids, the concepts and the simple ideas about, the meaning of environment and how we can preserve that. Yeah. Um, Also, we work with, sorry, yeah. Also, we work with waste recycling, especially, what we call it circular economy. So we learn, give knowledge and the skills mainly to the women in Egypt for how they can, recycle what we call it organic waste, or home organic waste in Egypt, and they can convert it to what we call it vermicompost, which we buy from them these products, and we sell that so we can generate money, especially for the women who can't work or can't get out of the house, or what we call it, the women who live in villages in Egypt here. Also, we have a new activity related to the biodiversity. So we hope that activities. And even, in our foundation, we have bees, we have hives there in our, what we call it, awareness, environmental awareness center, which is the mainly the place which we always use for teaching and learning the people there, the environment, and also about the climate change here. Let me just tell you something about, the meaning of the trees, because actually we our focus on trees, and actually, as you see, this is the church here, yeah, and the middle picture, you see, the priest and also imam. Um, what we use here is just only called activity green places of worship. And we think that, we can connect, the church with the mosque on one of the most favorite activities, that is planting the trees. And at the same time, we think that the green places of worship have become very important nowadays, because mosques and churches are not only places for prayer and spirituality, but also they can become centers for spreading environmental awareness and love. And please underline love here, because I mean love among people here. When a mosque, for example, plants trees around it, or a church creates a small garden that serves the community, I think that people feel environment is a shared responsibility for everyone. I mean everyone. So we know that trees provide shade, clean air, and help reduce pollution. And this is something all the religions encourage. So we see, okay, what is the common ground between the church and the mosque in that year? Can make, our worship places, like church or mosque, green. So we try to do that. So we encourage, the church and the mosque to give sermons and advise to the prayers about, how they can protecting the earth. In a country like Egypt or in Arab countries, the religion plays a very important role in changing the minds of the people here. So how, our God, created the trees. So is there a way to respecting, God's blessings? This is one of the important thing. Even more, when planting, I mean, tree planting campaigns can bring Muslims and the Christian together in one activity. Of course, that serves the society. And without, you know, any differences, when young people and the children, plant a tree together, they learn the meaning of cooperation and tolerance and belonging to the earth. I think, the green places of worship in which we carry out in Cairo is just like a positive dialogue among people, because actually we try to strengthen human relationships, and we confirm that we all share one goal. That is what we call it, protecting the planet for future generations. Um, Over time, green places of worship can become symbols of hope, peace, and also collective action. And we will talk about, the collective action later about that. And, proving I mean, proving that religion and nature can unity people for godness instead of conflict and division, especially at the time when the world needs greater cooperation to face climate change and the lack of green spaces in large cities like Cairo and Alexandria, for example. Here. So what we are trying to do is to see this is the church of the person of Jesus Christ, and this is the mosques also. We try to do that in Cairo, and this is the mosque in one of the new communities, and we try to to collect all the people and use people to say yes for trees, and the trees can be as a symbol of unity between the church and the mosque. uh, Now I will move to the second activities. It's not a second activity, actually, it's in the context of planting tree. That is historical places. I think that all of us know that the negative effectiveness of climate change on monuments and antiquities. And please just see on the background of the streets, you see the Salah ad-Din citadel. And there is a mosque, a very famous citadel called Muhammad Ali Mosque here. When we plant a tree, we don't plant a tree randomly. We plant trees based on the scientific evidence and also the needs for these places for planting trees. Yeah, and what are the objectives of trees? We always try to um, answer that questions in the light of the locations and the places which we use or selected to plant it. So this citadel, it's age more than 900 years ago. Imagine, yeah. And we know the storm. Egypt is a desert country. It's 7% of its area. It's just only the River Nile or the valley, Nile Valley, and the eastern and western desert representing more than 93% of the whole area. So we always face sandstorms. We also what you call it heat waves of heat, very extreme waves of heat. So all these, the climate change here affecting in the walls of the citadel and minarets and domes and even, the pyramids itself. Yeah. So it seemed for us, okay, how we can protect that historical places by planting more trees. This is a new street, and we cooperated with governorate of Cairo to plant some type of trees which can work as a wall of sandstorm. Yeah. Uh, Here is just only, I talked about, the green cat. This is our, we have, let me tell you a story about that. In Cairo, we have something we call it Environmental Awareness Center. And the story of this center is an amazing, because actually it was about half acre or okay, more than 2,000 meters square. And actually it was a landfill. Imagine, it was a landfill. It was a place for Egyptian, for some people to throw their trash, waste, and also all the furniture, cupboards, woods, plastics, everything. Yeah. So the story of that we decided to clean that, and we carried thousands tons of the trash because it was very old area. And we decided, to turn this place from trash into environmental awareness center, which it can be a green spot in Cairo, one of the most populated area in Cairo, Hadaya al-Ubba. And we tried to do that, yeah. So what we can do that, it's how we can do that. We can do that by teaching, the seeds. I mean the seeds here, I mean the children, the kids here, yeah. So we started to use it for kids. And what is, why the tree is very important, why we should stop cutting trees in Cairo, because actually we faced a lot of, incidents or accidents for, the reforming or building, the infrastructure. We cut, unfortunately, we cut hundreds thousands of trees in Cairo in the last 15 years. Yeah. So we try to do that. And these are pictures of what we are doing in the awareness, environmental awareness campaigns. We have also, this is a school actually, and I participated in this event because, you know, although we have environmental awareness center, but also we go to the schools, and we have an initiative project called Green Schools. So we try to use, the gardens of the schools, which is very limited gardens, especially in Cairo, because actually we don't have many, or much gardens in our schools, because actually, um, the increase of the population and the high density of students in our schools turned some lands into buildings in order to occupy, the increase of the students and the birth rate. Yeah. So this is just one of that, and this child, on the right is has the poster, uh, green schools, and after that we actually we work also with the special needs. I mean, we think they have the right to know what is the environment and what is the trees, and why you can do it. So each student from the special needs has a tree and named by his. So this is the tree of Martina. This is the tree of Ahmed. This is the tree of whatever name. It seems that here, the special needs students are very important, and we encourage them to care and maintain their tree because it belongs to them and belongs to their community. Uh, Sorry. After that, we have something um, related to this is the streets, and this is the trees. Uh, Let me talk about the Green Woman initiative. We have an activity called Green Woman, and we called that Green Woman because actually we wanted to empower the woman in, I mean, Egyptian woman in the field of environment and agriculture at the same time. So as you see on the table, these are, trays, and this is what we call it vermicompost. This is compost which we use to fertilize, the soil in agriculture. Even on some women, they have on the roof of their houses some plants projects for plants like planting pepper, lettuce, cucumber, tomatoes, something like that. So even in their balconies, they use the vermicompost. But what is the source of the vermicompost? Actually, this vermicompost is based on coming from the organic food from the West. The food, chicken, vegetables, fruits, which are not used. So we teach them how they can keep that and how they can turn, the organic waste into vermicompost by using something we call it red wiggler worms, which is one of the most important discovery in how these red wiggler worms can eat and then produce eat the organic waste and then produce what we call it the vermicompost. Um, Also, we work with the universities here and with the youth here. These are the group of, by the way, the man here, his name is Nabil Mahrous, and he is the chair of the board of trustees. He is my colleague and friend, and we work together in planning and designing and carrying out the projects and activities. Yeah. So we work also with the youth, especially in universities. And also, this is recently, we worked with the youth centers in Cairo. This is called Zenhom Youth Center. It's very near from the historical place in Citadel of Muhammad Ali. And those are, the students with the Faculty of Agriculture, Cairo University. We have a cooperation protocol with them, cooperative protocol with them in order to teach, to participate in planting tree campaigns. Yeah, and as you see, here is the girls and also on the role of urban uh, tree in urban areas. And I want just like to show you the last slide, because we have a lot of activities, but I choose selected some activities, and I see not quite sure. This is a video from Deutsche. It's just only portraying or shooting, the Environmental Awareness Center belonging to the foundation. I'm not quite sure. Do you? So I'm sorry, it's just only not translated in English. Okay. And okay, this is just only about our foundation, and I hope that you had an idea about what we are doing in Cairo Governorate about that. Now I will move to the second part about the citizen global citizenship and the climate education, and I hope that this is connect what we are doing in the foundation and also what we are doing in the what we call it global citizenship. Okay, I will not, actually explain that because actually you are an expert in the definition of global citizenship. But I wanted to, underline the, acting and well-being people plant. Um, well, why, sorry. Okay. Our world is actually, imagine that in 2050, that the population on our planet will reach to 9.5 7 billion people. That is, it's just only after maybe less than 25 years. Imagine that. Yeah, an increase, more than 1 billion point 5 will be increased in just in 25 years. And our land is limited. It's only 29. And the ocean is 71%. And the whole area which we live in is just only 510 meters square, kilometer. Yeah. What will happen? Just think on your grandsons, granddaughters. What will happen to the next generation when we climate change affect that? What we need is to think beyond borders, to think about, what we call it, climate action. And here I'm underlying acting, because actually we always talk, talk, talk. But when we carry out something related to our Earth, it is small, not big, and it's local. Yeah, it's local, it's good. Of course, this is the start, but it seems that it doesn't have a positive, impact on our Earth here. And we have to work, the people and the planet, for the well-being for them. This is very important. It just only so. So the idea here is, we know the values of the global citizenship, of course. Yeah, we know respect, empathy, justice, and responsibility here. But I will talk about two something very important, that is justice and the responsibility, because actually I have to ask you a question. Do you think that we have climate justice in our planet? So that is, the big question mark. You know, of course, we don't have, from my perspective, we don't have, a climate justice. Do you think that, the whole people, they have what we call it environmental responsibility? That is another big question here. It seems that the global citizenship here, it works for a longer time in respect and empathy, but when we work, or give more attention to justice and the responsibility, we always feel that it's not in our hands. At the same time, we have, challenges, a lot of challenges here. Climate change, and also what you call biodiversity, water scarcity, food security. And actually, I didn't, give more attention to climate change only, because actually they all interconnected. If we have climate change, we will have, biodiversity, we have water scarcity. If we have water scarcity, we will have food security, of course, here. So all of them is talking about, humanity, and also, insects, birds, marine life, everything, life on the land, life on the seas. And it seems that we talk about our planet. So how we can, handle that if we have climate change crisis and we global citizenship is absent of that, is not existent. And let me say something. This is something related to the, politics. In 2015, President Donald Trump, sorry, he was not in 2015, the former President Barack Obama signed the Paris Agreement at that year. So United States at that time was a signed country on the Paris Agreement here. But when, President Trump became, okay, he decided to withdraw with the Paris Agreement. And then, in the second term, he also, I mean, George Bush, not sorry, not Joe Biden. I'm sorry. Joe Biden, yeah, said, okay, we are committed to the Paris Agreement. Then, when Joe Biden left his White House, you know, Trump became again for the second term, and he said, okay, we were not responsible for the Paris Agreement here. Do you think that this is, a challenge? Yeah, because actually one of the biggest countries in our world, they doesn't have the responsibility to say that I'm responsible of emissions, gas emissions of that year. We always say this is not a political choice. This is not a political choice. This is a shared global challenge. We have to cooperate, all of us, unless we, humanity, will be in danger and in risk in the next decades. And I myself, when I say that, do you think that, climate change is only, exclusive to the Africa or Asia or Europe? No, of course not. It exceeds, the national borders and even, the political systems here. I will tell you the story about that here. One of the African people, I met him. He was a teacher and he was from the refugees in Egypt here, Sedoga. Look, do you think that you will live for Egypt for a long time? No. I think this is not a developing country, and this is a developing country. So I'm deciding to, immigrate to Europe. And then when I asked him, okay, why? He said, okay, we don't have, we have conflicts in Africa. Okay? We have conflicts on water. Our animals are dead because due to the drought. And we don't have economic opportunities for that. So for me, the immigration here is an opportunity to immigrate from Egypt, from Africa to Europe at that time. So it seems that it exceed borders. So international cooperation in that, it's very important, yeah. And let me talk about the responsibility because actually, Donald Trump said, okay, he is defending on the international companies, oil companies, industry, economic. But at the same time, we can't deal with the climate change in the context of global citizenship without stressing on responsibility. It is scientific responsibility. When we talk about science here, we talk about, economic, how climate change, has a negative impact in economy in our world. Look to Pakistan, for example, and India. What happened when, the floods happened to them? Look to Japan, look to China, look to even, the countries in Africa here. So this is ethical responsibility. Yeah, it is an ethical responsibility if we have ethics. But if we don't have ethics related to the climate change, what will happen to our planet? We all will die. And this is just only, I remember in that, and I like it, this sentence so much. All of us remember, Martin Luther King, when he said, okay, injustice anywhere is a threat to humanity everywhere. Now I wanted to say that climate change anywhere is a threat to life, not the humanity. It's, a big meaning. I mean the life, not the humanity only, everywhere. If we don't move, if we don't move forward of that year, emissions everywhere impacts everywhere, even in Egypt, even in Europe, even in China, even in the United States, even in Germany, everywhere. So how we can say that in the light of the human rights? Climate change here is the human rights because every individual and every animal, every bird, every insect, every tree on the earth has the right to live. Okay, about 10 years ago, sorry, 10 days, 10 days ago, I had a trip with my scientific trip with my colleagues to what we call it Fossils and the Climate Change Museum in El Fayum Governor. It's just only 120 kilometers away from my house. Imagine, okay, in this picture, that was a sea. That was a sea. And this sea has leopards, whales, fish. It was life. This is not the mountains, ladies. I mean, this is not mount, rocks. It's sand, but it's a dry sand. What happened? But what happened? The drought happened here in Egypt 40 million years ago. And all the creatures here died. And we decided in Egypt to establish, to found the Climate Change Museum to be the symbol of to see the fossils. And I think Dr. Ines will give you, more details about, the fossils and, the life million years ago or 1,000 years ago, what happened to our planet as a result of humanity and also the natural disasters. This is, who is, I'm talking about justice and responsibility again. Egypt, according to the scientific institutes, it's only produce 0.7% of the emissions, the CO2. And Saudi Arabia is 1.5%. Yeah. Saudi Arabia is the first one of producing that, and Egypt is the second country, and for the Arab states here. But please look to China. It's nearly 31%. Look to the United States. It's 13.5. India, 7.3. And Russia, Japan, Germany, South Korea. Yeah. If you just calculated that, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, the seven countries, okay, big countries here produce more than 50% of the gas emissions in our world. And I remember in one of the fairs which I participated 3 or 4 years ago, I met a Chinese manager in one of the fair and the conferences here in Cairo about, the solar energy. And I criticized them and I said, okay, you are producing the biggest, about third of the emissions in our world. Yeah. But his answer was strange because actually he told me, yeah, we produce the third of the CO2 emissions, but we are the first country in producing the solar panels and the solar energy in our world. Yeah. It seems that they are working, okay, to figure out our environment at the same time. But what about, the other countries? And here I'm talking about the climate justice here because actually imagine that, the CO2 emissions, it's 40 billion tons. Yeah, this is huge. This is huge and has a negative impact on our planet and our life and our health. So here is, it seems that I'm talking about, global cooperation here. Do you think that, the global citizenship can be the first step for global cooperation? Yeah, yeah, it, it can be done. If we work it all together, okay, to decarbonize, the countries of the CO2 emissions and all. Because actually, if we didn't work about that, there is an active impact on the supply chains. I mean, not global, yeah, global supply chain. It's very important, yeah. And See, it's just only some countries in last 10 years, I think, yeah, had affected, the supply chains in other countries. So what happening in Asia, for example, it affected, countries in Africa. So it seems that what we need, okay, to work for the well-being for the human, yeah, we need to do that, yeah. I'm not quite sure. Do you know Greta Thunberg? Yeah, yeah. Greta Thunberg. This is I'm following her for many years. When she was just 9 years, now she was a beautiful lady. Yeah, and I love her so much. Yeah, because actually she is a very environmental activist in that. Yeah, don't listen to politicians, but listen to the science. I like this, sentence which she said in one of the conferences here. Science talks, not policy talks. It seems that, do we have climate change? Is it a fact or not? Because actually, what we are observed in the last year that there is a campaign, it just only make doubts about, the climate change here. Okay? It's not ideology. It's science here. There is a rising global temperature. Yeah, there. There is a green gas, increase of CO2 emission. Yes. There is a melting ice. Yeah. So Greta Thunberg is just only is emphasizing that in order to convince all the people about what we must do. I'm talking about international agreement, require cooperation. Yeah, we have many agreements and many conventions. And I United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change, yeah, UNFCCC is still existent, yeah. But what happened to the progress in UNFCCC? It's just only one of the scientists said that, okay, it's just only 3%. And we should do that in the light of Sustainable Development Goal 2030. We have to reach more than. It seems that all these are the leaders of our planets. Germany is there, Austria is there, Egypt is there, Saudi Arabia is there. Egypt is one of the first countries signed on Paris Agreement, but it seems that we can't help or can't do that with one hand. We need many hands in order to achieve the targets and objectives of that. Okay. This is ethical responsibility. I'm not quite sure if yeah, okay. It's just only 7 minutes, so I will try to be fast in that. But let me that impacts of the climate change here, uh, and let me about talking about the health risks here. All of us, afraid of diseases. But do you know that the climate change has can heat stress and diseases in Pakistan or in Africa? How many people die as a result of heat stress? One of my friends in one of the conferences, okay, said to me that a young man, he is 26 years in Aswan, in Upper Egypt. He was died because actually, uh, he faced, a heat stress in his brain. And what that is was a diagnostic, the diagnosing of physicians for the reason of his death here. It's just only 2 months ago. So it seems that, we will lose a lot if economic loses here. And if you just read, the last two lines, please see that our losses in 2050, after 20 years or 25 years, it seems it will be 38 trillion. This is okay, according to a Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Germany. Imagine this sum of money, huge. So, and I just remind you of the questions: what will happen to our sons, grandsons, in the future in 2050 of that year? Do you think that we will leave them safe or unsafe? Yeah, this is just what we need in global citizenship now is we must try to transform the political debates which politicians always say that it will affect on our economy into what we call it shared human values and actions. This is our job now. We have to move and we give more attention to human values and action shared by the humanity and by the group. How we can do that? Look, we can do that. Sorry, yeah, it seems that. Do you see that? Yeah. Okay, where is the presentation? Yeah, sorry. It seems that I. Do you see the presentation? I couldn't hear. Listen,
No, you stopped sharing
now,
now.
yeah, you are sharing now. Okay, sorry for
That
that. Yeah,
you
I
stopped
was.
sharing.
Now I stopped sharing.
Yeah, we can't see the presentation at the moment.
Oh, okay. Sorry, because actually it seemed that yeah. Can you see it?
Now we can see it again. Yes,
Okay, yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
no problem.
Yeah. Uh, so it's how we can transform empathy to the youth activism. And also, the policy, I mean, justice to policy advocacy. And I will talk about, the policy advocacy from the point of perspective of the human rights of that year. But I want to just to share with you, this is, I have a blog and I wrote about, the policy in that. I think it's just an articles about do we have what we call it, the International Environmental Court. It's like, the International Justice Court, yeah. But what we need for global citizenship here, it to establish, to found, what you call it, International Environmental Court, in order to say its decision about the countries which produce CO more CO carbon, CO2 emissions in our world. Yeah. They have responsibility to fix our world and our environment. Yeah. With taxes, carbon taxes, with what you call it, penalties, and I think the European Union is doing that now. So it is very important just to look about that in order to reduce the carbon or CO2 in our world, which is the main source of climate change here. Uh, After that, I wanted to just to say that we are in the same boat, and no one can, throw from the global boat. We are sharing the global boat. It's like an ocean. It's like a Noah boat. I, I mean the Prophet Noah boat. And please, it just only, how we should think on connecting, the global citizenship with the climate change. because this is the future main threat to our life, to our people, to the animals which we live, to our dogs, to cats, and imagine that what will happen to them in that. This is our beloved planet, and we don't have, more, you know, planets to live in. We will not to go to the moon or to the Mars, of course, yeah, because we will not be here. But it seems that some people say, do we need another planet? No, we don't need another planet. We need a lot of wise men and wise ladies to think about, how we can live in our planet in peace. Because actually, climate change is connected to peace, is connected to the conflict, is connected to the wars, is connected to agriculture, is connected to even to education. Imagine that some, students will not go to schools or university because actually for this extreme weather. It seemed that it affected everything. Yeah, it's a threat for every country, for every students, and without global citizenship, we will not be able to say uh, this is our life because it will be this is our health. Thank you so much. I have a lot of slides for how we can use artists in climate change, songs, artists and so on. But I think my time is ended. And thank you so much for giving me that. And I will send to you the presentation in PDF format. So if you just for your interest. Yeah. Thank you, Christine and the Gloco team for that. And I'm waiting for the question, the comments about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Atef Ahmed, for this great presentation. And thank you for sharing your slides. We will be gladly providing the slides to
Yeah.
our network and to people who are interested. So I would like to, looking at the time, ask the audience if there are questions, comments. I already see that we have some in the chat. So if you wish to ask something, you can just open your mic. Feel free to ask your questions, or if you wish to use the chat function. Che Divine, please go ahead.
Right. Thank you very much, Chris. It's so nice to be here again. And Dr. Atef, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. I think your presentation, I had some questions that I actually noted down. And yeah, I'm just going to read them out. I'll start first with the first part of your presentation, the tree planting project which you have been doing, which I think is really wonderful. But I am a little bit curious because I realized that the trees that you're planting actually somehow grown. I don't know if it's actually a tradition or um it's actually much preferable to plant trees that are somehow grown already there in Egypt. Because here in Cameroon we usually carry out tree plant activities as well, but we usually plant very small for smaller size of trees, still very young. So I'm just curious to know why you guys plant trees that are big already. Little.
Not quite
You
sure. I'm not quite sure I understand, the questions correctly because actually, the voice is to some
the
extent is
the
noisy.
question the
Yeah.
question was why in the pictures we saw that the trees you plant are quite big already. And the question was, why is that? Because
Yeah.
compared in Cameroon, in the tree planting initiatives, they usually use smaller plants. That was the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, okay. Well, this is a good question, actually. We have criteria for planting trees in Cairo, yeah. Because actually, if we, the small trees will not live in Cairo. Because actually, some, children, they cut it. And also, the maintenance and the care for, the water, we have water scarcity in the same time. So we have standards that the trunk of the tree must be more than 2 inches. It could be reached to the 4 inches for that, yeah. So in nursery, I mean tree nursery, we plant the trees which is big, not small, what we call it like the seeds or something like that. Number two, we each soil in Egypt has a certain type of trees which is can appear, the heat, the drought, and also, the overpopulations of the streets in that area. Yeah. So we have standards for planting trees in order to protect the trees from cutting and also for good care and maintenance in our governorate or in our areas. Yeah, that. By the way, locked. Your name is Chi, yeah? But okay, Chi. We have three kinds of trees here. We have fruit, trees, and ornamental trees, and also we have what we call it, the timber trees here. Most of the trees which we always plant in Cairo, it's what we call it ornamental trees. It's not for decoration only, but also it is a kind which our scientists, I mean the people who work in the agriculture, said this is only in kind of the trees which you can, plant in the streets in Cairo, which is over, it has, pollution, a lot of pollution. So if it's a fruit trees, it may affect the fruits itself. It could be polluted. It could be harmful for the people if they will eat it as a result of pollution, air pollution. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Atef. I think you've yeah, I now have a clue on why your plant trees are already grown. And while we're answering, you also called my attention to, my next question, which you spoke about water scarcity. I think it was one of the things, one of the questions I also had, written down. Like, how do you deal with, irrigation issues during your tree planting project? Since Cairo happens to be like a desert region, how do you deal with irrigation?
Mitigation. Yeah. You talk about
Irrigation, no, irrigation.
irrigation. Yeah. Okay. Okay, planting thousands or millions of trees in Cairo, it can cost you millions of dollars. Yeah, but we have a problem. Actually, we have a challenge in irrigation. That is, frankly speaking, about that. Yeah, because actually, the pipes, okay, it costs a lot of money, yeah. And even it's under, the heat, it can work for 3 or 5 months, and it has we replace it, yeah. In some places, we have smart irrigation for the trees, but the majority, 95% of planting trees in Egypt, we use cars which has tanks of water with the localities, and they have a schedule. Okay, after, in summer season, for example, the irrigation here 4 times, day after day. But in winter, it's just only 2 or 3 days per week. So these are only the way for irrigation, because actually we don't have much rains in Cairo or in Cairo that, yeah. And even, the water which we use it, what you call it, gray water. I mean, it's not fresh, so fresh water, the clean water. It's come from the canals, and it's recycled water. So we use it for irrigation in Cairo. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Atef. I really see that you guys have a lot of challenges, especially
Yeah.
with irrigation and water, which is a very big problem. Yeah, a very big problem. Unlike in Cameroon, we actually have we have so much water.
Yeah.
Though we have a region in Cameroon that also has similar challenges with Cairo. That's the northern part of Cameroon. It's actually desertic as well. But we have the government have plans, we have projects that are working towards reforesting those areas. So I think that is one thing to that is going to open the way for my next question. I'm sorry, I'm asking a lot of
Yeah.
questions.
Okay, yeah, feel
Yeah.
free.
Yeah, so my next question is somehow very strategic, in regards to the deserting nature of Cairo. So aside of just the tree planting activities that you have been carrying, which is such a great move, which I think it helps a lot, what are other strategies that your organization or the government, it's putting in place? Like, are they thinking of making a forest in one part of Cairo, like just demarcating a certain portion of Cairo and say, okay, we want to work on this area to ensure that we have a forest in this area. I think if the government or if some organizations think of something like that, though it might really cost a lot, maybe some technology, since there's a lot of water scarcity and the rest. But I think if the government or some organizations in Cairo come together for a project like this, making one part of Cairo actually have a forest in some years to come, I believe maybe the drought will be half gone or gone at some point. So I don't know if that's a strategy your organization is thinking of, or if the government actually have plans in doing something like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, Egypt is not, its atmosphere and weather, I mean, climate is not like, the Eastern Africa, for example. You know, if you just have a look to the map of Egypt, okay, it's just only the River Nile from Ethiopia, yeah, and then until Alexander the Mediterranean Sea. And 90, as I mentioned before, that more than 90% of the whole area, okay, is desert. So we rely on what you like groundwater and rains and River Nile. River Nile gives Egypt is mainly about 90% of the whole water for 110 million people. Plus, the people come from Sudan, I mean refugees, which is nearly 5 million. So you are talking about 115 million in Egypt. They live only in 10% of the whole area of Egypt. Of course, we have challenges related to that. We don't have forest, for example. Yeah, it's small forest, but it's not, the forest with like Africa and Kenya, and Ethiopia, and Congo. It's, the situation is different here. Our strategy is it just only to rely on recycled water, okay, for irrigation, trees. Number two is to use the technology, AI and the smart, technology for irrigation using sensors, the minimal amount of water needed for the trees. Also, we don't plant, what you call it, the trees which absorbs or take much water. And this is one of the policies which we use. Plant a tree foundation for that is a stack to the strategy of the Minister of Environment, and which has a guide, a manual for planting trees. So we don't work randomly. We work according to instructions and guide from the Minister of Environment for that. Yeah, even the trees which is we can use our plant in Cairo. We can't, for example, plant in Alexandria or in a Mediterranean coast. or in Sinai, or even in Aswan, I mean, in the south of Egypt. Yeah. So each geographical area has a certain type of the trees, which is to adapt and mitigate, with the climate at that time, and also with the water strategy for saving, the water in Egypt as a result of increasing population of that. Yeah. We hope that technology, AI, at that time can be used widely in Egypt in order to overcome the challenges of planting it, even, the maintenance and the care of the trees here. So we try to use, the smart technology for in that regard here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Atif. I am satisfied with the answers so far. Thank you very much, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
My pleasure.
Looking at the time,
Yeah.
we have one question. We have lots of reactions in the chat. You can maybe check afterwards. We just have one question, and maybe you can answer shortly. We have a question from Varda. Why not utilize insulated ground irrigation systems that protect the pipes from the heat?
Okay. This is actually luck. The idea of that, number one, there are a lot of bad people. So it's not the idea of insulated, pipes. They steal, the pipes. So I'm sorry to say that, yeah, are bad people, thieves, okay? And okay, sell, the pipes to others, factories for recycling or something. This is number one. Number two, the budget. The budget, for that, we are a developing country. We are not a rich country. We have an initiative from His Excellency's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for planting 100 million trees in Egypt, but that is for 15 years, I think, yeah, and maybe it lasts more than 15 years, yeah, and it started only 5 years ago. So it seems for us, the budget is, we are facing a lot of economic crisis for, saving, the pipes and, the water, the cars for irrigation, and also the sieves, which, 60% of the pipes were stolen of that year. So we replaced that by using the cars, which has tankers of gray water to irrigate, the plants in Cairo. By the way, if you visited, the Cairo today, especially, the historical places, yeah, you will see that, the trees are very, now it's strong and it's tall and it can, protect, the whole area of that here. I wish you could one day you can visit Egypt to show you our, initiatives in Cairo and also in other places here. Thank you for that. This is my answer here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Atef Ahmed, for this great presentation and for answering all the questions from the audience. Looking at the time, it's running away. We would usually have a 5-minute break. I would like to quickly ask in the audience, would it be okay if we just have about 2 minutes for physical needs before we start with the second presentation? Because obviously we would like to hear the second presentation as well. And looking at the time, there will be probably a bit of overtime, but we will have enough to hear the second presentation as well. Great. Then I would say thank you again, Dr. Atef. 2 minutes break, and then we will hear the second presentation of Dr. Ines Ahmed. 2 minutes break. and she will talk about the role of geotourism and geoparks in Egypt in supporting climate education and advancing global citizenship values. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to Dr. Ines Ahmed.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for your lovely presentations. And thank you for the invitation for giving me the platform to introduce an important subject about